Conclusion of The Boys has sparked divided opinions among its audience. While some celebrated the ending, others expressed their frustration. Which perspective holds more truth? We will find out together. In this breakdown, we will explore the strengths and weaknesses of the final episode to reach a balanced assessment. Shall we begin? Let us start with the first positive point, the conclusion of Homelander's arc. This antagonist served as the narrative cornerstone from the very first episode, representing the ultimate threat. The series dedicated consistent development to him, so he deserved a farewell worthy of his significance, and in my view, he received it. From his initial introduction, Homelander was presented as the most lethal, superpowered individual on the planet, an uncontrolled psychopath. We witnessed him murder, intimidate, and subjugate multiple characters without remorse. However, it was also repeatedly revealed that, deep down, he was a vulnerable child with profound emotional needs. His apparent courage depended entirely on his superhuman abilities. Characters like A-Train reminded him bluntly, "Without powers, you are nothing." This statement perfectly defines his essence, which is why his ending felt coherent to me. Homelander lost his abilities and was exposed as what he always was, a coward. The production conveyed these emotions with remarkable effectiveness. It was striking to watch him jump desperately, attempting to fly without success. That moment was deliberately pathetic, and subsequently we saw him beg for his life, humiliating himself before Butcher. This is the true nature of Homelander, a braggart who only showed courage when his powers backed him up. There was no more fitting conclusion for him. Homelander did not deserve a dignified exit. He needed to be humiliated as payment for his actions, and only Butcher could carry out that task. It was powerful to hear Butcher mention Becca and Frenchie. The scene achieved perfection. Homelander's ending constituted the highlight of the episode. My second positive point addresses Butcher's conclusion. This character represents the other fundamental pillar of the series and also deserved an appropriate ending, which I believe he received. His final moments alongside Huey impeccably closed the trajectory built for him since Season 1. Butcher began this story as a man consumed by grief over the presumed death of his wife. From that moment, an inner darkness began to develop, leading him to cross boundaries that a decent person would not transgress. In recent seasons, we were shown a completely darkened Butcher, willing to execute a genocide of superpowered individuals. He reached the point of nearly transforming into a villain, someone determined to fulfill his mission even if it meant sacrificing his allies. And here enters Huey, a character who functioned as Butcher's counterpoint. Huey always preserved his humanity, despite the terrible events he experienced. He also had reasons to hate the superpowered, but he would never be capable of eliminating them all. Huey understands that there are good superpowered individuals who do not deserve to die. The philosophies of both characters collided in the finale. Huey shoots Butcher despite caring for him deeply, and Butcher wanted to be stopped by Huey. He already knew he had become a monster and would never stop on his own. It was wonderful to see Huey alongside Lenny, Butcher's younger brother. This conclusion felt perfect for both characters. Let us now move to the negative aspects of the final episode. First, the underutilization of characters. The final season introduced several elements that could have held relevance in the conclusion but were completely ignored. Let us begin with the characters from General Chapter 7 introduced them as a narrative promise. That episode concluded with Starlight acknowledging they would be necessary in the decisive battle. However, when Chapter 8 arrived, they simply disappeared. We never saw them fight or use their abilities. So, what was the purpose of introducing them in this season? They performed no significant action whatsoever. Even the mission assigned to them felt unconvincing. Starlight sent them to Canada to protect followers of Homelander. In Chapter 7, rescuing these people made sense because they were in danger, but in Chapter 8, it was no longer necessary. Homelander had no interest in these civilians. The Gen characters were included in a forced manner. There is no way to justify it. If they were not going to contribute anything, I would have preferred they did not appear, and that time was not wasted on them. Another underutilized character was Soldier Boy. The entire season positioned him as a fundamental piece of the story. He drove important events as he introduced the entire storyline surrounding Compound and its resistance to the virus. Furthermore, he himself delivered Compound 1 to Homelander. The series proposed a storyline of empathy between father and son, but when the grand finale arrived, Soldier Boy vanished. Strangely, not even the protagonists mentioned Soldier Boy in the final battle. They were unaware that Homelander had frozen him, so they should have prepared to confront him, but they devised no plan against him. They did not even carry the gas they had previously used to sedate him. It was as if Soldier Boy had disappeared from everyone's minds. This is a clear case of a character who arrived in the season to steal protagonism and promote his spin-off series. After that, he left as if nothing happened. Let us advance to my second negative point: the reduced scale of events. The final season had the task of closing the story with major impact. Fans desired to witness a spectacle, fights, action, and violence at the highest level. However, the final result was quite restrained, even disappointing. The final fight was satisfying but felt small. Only 4 superpowered individuals participated inside a limited room with minimal destruction and a modest budget. This confrontation does not surpass the one we witnessed at Herogasm with Butcher, Huey, and Soldier Boy against Homelander. In fact, at Herogasm, there was much more destruction. Another valid complaint is the absence of Homelander's army. The production itself released posters for Season 5 in which we saw Homelander accompanied by an army of superpowered individuals. I, like many fans, expected to see something similar. I do not want to be unrealistic either. I did not expect 50 superpowered individuals led by Homelander, but they could have included at least 10. Homelander's great army turned out to be deep and oh father, what a tremendous letdown. It is undeniable that the episode felt small and modestly budgeted. There were no massacres, explosions, or anything on a large scale. My final negative point is the absence of an unleashed Homelander. This aspect is minor, but negative enough to deserve its space. From the series' beginning, we were presented with the idea that Homelander represented a gigantic threat that was only contained by Butcher. The series itself sold the premise that, if Homelander ever broke free, he would destroy the world. And these are not my inventions. Homelander himself stated that if he ever had nothing left to lose, he would obliterate everything. That fear was present, so we all wanted to see it executed. But this season did not fulfill that promise. Without exaggeration, I can affirm that Homelander eliminated more people in Season 1. At that time, he abandoned Flight 37 with entire families, including children. That was a terrible and dark event. But in the final season, we have nothing similar. I expected that, finally, Homelander would cause massacres in the city. In Season 2, we were shown a vision of him eliminating civilians with his laser beams. I wanted something like that to materialize in this season. We all wanted to witness Homelander unleashing that fury promised to us years ago. It is understandable that the budget is limited, but that scene from Season 2 demonstrates there are ways to depict a massacre without spending excessive resources. Simply, the production was not interested in showing this unleashed version of Homelander. Therefore, this is especially negative, because it feels like an unfulfilled promise. Homelander could have been something terrible for the world, but he remained merely a threat that was contained before it could explode. In conclusion, the ending of The Boys is acceptable. It fulfills the task of closing the most important and necessary storylines for the series, but it fails considerably in the remaining elements. Opportunities were wasted, and they preferred to take the easier path. For me, this finale is nearly on the same level as that of Stranger Things, although I believe we will address that topic another time. But anyway, that is all for today. If you enjoyed the analysis, you would help me tremendously by leaving a like. That would be legendary.